Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt a stiffness in your knees, a heaviness in your back, or that familiar little click in your wrist when you reached up to comb your hair? At our age, these aches and pains are no longer strangers. They show up uninvited, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, and more often than we'd like. I remember talking to an old friend once, a woman in her 70s. She smiled and said, "I don't need an alarm clock anymore. My knees wake me up." It was funny, but it stuck with me. When your body starts speaking in the language of pain, you learn to listen, and more importantly, you learn to care for it differently. Most people, when they think about joint pain, they think of pills, supplements, maybe calcium or collagen. But few realize that some of the best support for our joints doesn't come in a bottle, it comes from the kitchen. From simple, everyday foods that, when eaten regularly and correctly, can ease inflammation, reduce stiffness, and help us move more freely through our days. The best part? These foods aren't rare. They're not expensive. You might already have them sitting quietly in your pantry or passing them by at your local market, unaware that they could be helping you walk with less pain, sleep with less discomfort, and live with a little more ease. In this video, I want to sit with you, not as a doctor or an expert, but as a friend. One who has learned, step by step, what it means to grow older and still feel good inside this body. I'll share with you 5 foods that have been shown, time and again, in both research and in real life, to help with joint pain in seniors. Each one comes with a story, something I've experienced, seen, or learned from others along the way. No long lectures, no numbered lists, just a gentle conversation between two people who understand what it means to wake up with aches, to worry about slipping on the stairs, or to sigh when the weather changes and the joints begin to complain. Joint pain isn't just about discomfort. It steals energy. It makes us hesitate to go for walks, to bend down and pick up a grandchild, to enjoy the garden or stand at the stove for a while. And slowly, it steals freedom. But food, good food, can help us take a little of that freedom back. So let's begin this journey together, not with urgency or pressure, but with curiosity, kindness, and maybe even a little hope. You don't have to change everything, just one thing, one food, one new habit, and perhaps we can start with the first food on this list, one that's simple, golden in color, warm in nature, and known by many as a gentle warrior against inflammation. And that food is turmeric. You've probably seen it before, a bright yellow-orange powder tucked away in the spice rack. Maybe you've used it in curry or sprinkled it into soup. But what you might not know is that this humble spice holds one of the most powerful natural ingredients for fighting joint pain: curcumin. I was first introduced to turmeric not in a health magazine or doctor's office, but in the kitchen of an old neighbor from India. She was well into her 70s, and every morning without fail, she would stir a spoonful of turmeric into a cup of warm water, add a touch of black pepper, and sip it slowly like tea. I asked her once, "Why every day?" She looked at me and said simply, "Because my knees still let me dance." I didn't quite believe her at first, but then I started reading. Study after study shows that curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, can help reduce inflammation in the body, particularly in the joints. And unlike over-the-counter painkillers, it does so gently, without the stomach aches or side effects. Still, I remained skeptical until I tried it myself. I started small, just half a teaspoon mixed into warm milk or oatmeal. After a couple of weeks, I noticed that the morning stiffness in my hands began to ease. I could open jars again without wincing. My evening walks felt smoother. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened. The key, I've learned, isn't in taking massive amounts or expecting miracles. It's consistency. Just like brushing your teeth or stretching your legs before a walk, making turmeric a regular part of your diet is an act of steady self-care. If you're wondering how to use it, there are plenty of simple ways. Stir it into warm water with a dash of black pepper, which helps the body absorb curcumin. Add it to scrambled eggs or vegetable soup. Mix it into salad dressings or smoothies. You don't need much. A little goes a long way. And yes, the flavor is strong. Earthy. A bit bitter. But I've grown to like it. It tastes like something ancient and wise. Something that's been helping people for generations. A friend of mine, who's 74 and used to struggle with lower back pain, now swears by his daily turmeric tea. I don't know if it's the spice or the habit, he says, but either way, I feel better. And I think that's the beauty of it. Turmeric is not just a food, it's a gesture. A quiet way of telling your body, I'm here for you. So if you're waking up sore, if your knees creak or your shoulders ache, why not try it? Not as a miracle cure, but as a daily companion. A little spoonful of golden warmth to remind your joints they're still cared for. Let's keep going. The next food isn't a spice, but something soft, rich, and found on many dinner tables around the world. It comes from the sea, and carries with it a strength that nourishes not only the joints, but the heart as well. And that food is salmon. Tender, flavorful, and rich in color, salmon isn't just a delicious fish. It's one of the best natural sources of omega-3 fatty acids, and those little fats do wonders for aging joints. I didn't grow up eating salmon. It wasn't part of my family's regular meals. But as I got older, and the creaks in my knees started getting louder, I began to pay more attention to what I was putting on my plate. That's when salmon came into the picture. It started with one dinner at my daughter's house. She served a simple meal: baked salmon, steamed broccoli, and a small bowl of quinoa. No heavy sauces, no fuss. I'll be honest, I wasn't excited at first, but after the first bite, I had to admit, it was good. Rich, but not greasy. Filling, but light. And within a few weeks of having salmon once or twice a week, I noticed something surprising. I was moving easier. That's the magic of omega-3s. These healthy fats help reduce inflammation in the joints, acting like a natural lubricant for stiff, overworked areas. When our bodies age, we tend to build up tiny pockets of inflammation around the knees, hips, fingers, and over time, that inflammation creates pain. Omega-3s gently help to calm that down. And the best part, you don't need to eat a mountain of fish. Just 2 servings of salmon per week, baked, grilled, or gently pan-seared, can offer real relief. No pills, no prescriptions, just a meal that helps your body heal from the inside out. I met a gentleman in Washington State, retired and living near the coast. He told me he caught his own salmon every season. I used to have trouble gripping the fishing rod, he said, but I started eating what I caught, and these old fingers started listening again. He laughed, held up his hands, and showed me the strength he'd regained, not from supplements, but from dinner. Of course, if salmon is too pricey or hard to find where you live, you can try other fatty fish, mackerel, sardines, trout. But salmon remains my favorite. It's easy to prepare, gentle on the stomach, and feels like a treat every time. You don't need fancy recipes. A slice of salmon, a pinch of salt, a drizzle of lemon and olive oil. Bake it for 15 minutes, and that's it. Pair it with greens or brown rice. Or if you're like me, enjoy it cold the next day in a sandwich with a little mustard and arugula. As we age, what we eat becomes less about appetite and more about energy, ease, and mobility. Salmon offers all three. It's not just food, it's a quiet ally in your journey to stay active, independent, and pain-free. And now, from the sea to the soil, let's turn our attention to something even smaller, but no less powerful. A tiny seed, barely the size of a grain of sand, yet packed with nutrients that support your joints, your digestion, and even your sleep. And that seed is chia. Tiny, nearly weightless, and often overlooked, chia seeds may be small, but they are packed with strength. They've become a staple in my kitchen, not because they're trendy, but because they've quietly made a big difference in how my body feels, especially in the mornings. I first discovered chia through a friend who was in her early 70s, sharp as a tack and still gardening every day. One afternoon, as we sat on her porch sipping tea, she handed me a little jar filled with a cloudy gel-like mixture. "Try this," she said. "It looks strange, but it's magic." It was just water and chia seeds, soaked until they expanded into a soft jelly. I raised an eyebrow, but I took a sip. It didn't taste like much, but within a week of having a spoonful or two daily, I felt lighter. My digestion felt smoother. And most importantly, my joints didn't ache as much when I woke up. Chia seeds are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the same joint-friendly fats found in salmon, but plant-based. They're also full of fiber, magnesium, and calcium, all essential nutrients for maintaining strong bones and reducing inflammation. For someone like me, who sometimes wants a break from meat or fish, chia offers a quiet but powerful alternative. The best thing about chia? It's easy. No cooking. No complicated prep. Just add a tablespoon to a glass of water, let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, and drink it. You can also sprinkle it into your oatmeal, blend it into a smoothie, or stir it into yogurt. Some mornings, I even make what my grandkids call chia pudding. Just chia, almond milk, and a bit of cinnamon, left overnight in the fridge. It's become part of my routine, not because I have to, but because it works. I notice the difference when I stop. My joints feel stiffer, my energy dips, and even my sleep isn't as restful. So I go back to that simple jar of seeds, soaked and ready on the counter, and take a few spoonfuls like a quiet little promise to myself. A neighbor of mine, tough old guy, worked construction all his life, used to laugh at the idea of eating seeds. But after he struggled with arthritis in his hands, his daughter convinced him to try chia. Now, he mixes it into his coffee every morning and calls it grease for the gears. He's not wrong. So, if you're feeling stiff, bloated, or just worn down, give chia seeds a try. Don't expect fireworks, just a gentle, lasting improvement. That's how real healing often works. Small, steady steps that your body learns to trust. Next, let's talk about a food that's traveled the world, taken many forms, and somehow made its way into kitchens from Tokyo to Texas. It's a plant that's been praised for centuries and still sits quietly on grocery shelves waiting to be noticed. And that food is soy. Maybe you've heard about it in passing. Soy milk, tofu, tempeh. But you might not realize just how valuable it can be for your joints, especially as you get older. I'll be honest, for most of my life, I didn't give soy much thought. I wasn't vegetarian, and I grew up thinking of tofu as something for health fanatics. But everything changed when my wife, who reads more health articles than I can count, handed me a warm cup of unsweetened soy milk one morning and said, "Try this. It's good for your knees." I rolled my eyes, but I drank it anyway. And over the next few weeks, I started to notice something. I wasn't groaning as much when I stood up from the couch. My morning walks felt easier. I didn't feel like the Tin Man before his oil can anymore. That got me curious. So I did what any skeptical man in his 60s would do. I Googled it. Turns out, soy contains isoflavones, natural compounds that support bone density and help fight inflammation. For women, especially after menopause, this is a big deal. And for men like me, soy is also a solid source of plant-based protein, which helps maintain muscle and joint strength. The beauty of soy is how versatile it is. You can drink soy milk in the morning, toss tofu into your stir-fries, or try tempeh, grilled or baked with your favorite veggies. Some days, I'll even swap out my usual afternoon snack for a slice of whole grain toast topped with avocado and a little crumbled tofu. It's surprisingly satisfying. And unlike heavier proteins, soy is gentle on digestion, a bonus when your stomach isn't quite as forgiving as it used to be. It doesn't leave you sluggish. You feel nourished, not weighed down. A friend of mine, an old army buddy, used to tease me about my plant stuff. But after struggling with joint pain in his shoulders, he gave soy a shot. Now he's the one bringing soy-based protein bars on our hikes and telling me what brand of tofu is best. Go figure. What I've learned is this: you don't have to become someone else to eat better. You don't have to change your entire diet overnight. But adding something like soy into your weekly routine? That's a small step with big benefits. Because eating well at our age isn't about being perfect. It's about being kind to your body, making choices that make movement easier, sleep deeper, and mornings less painful. And that brings me to one more food. A fruit, actually. Creamy, rich, and often called nature's butter. It's one of the most satisfying and joint-loving foods you can add to your plate. And that fruit is avocado. Smooth, rich, and almost indulgent, avocado might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think about joint health. But trust me, it belongs on this list. The first time I really paid attention to avocado, it was because of my granddaughter. She was visiting from college and made us toast for breakfast. Thick slices of whole grain bread, mashed avocado, a little lemon, and a sprinkle of sea salt. I'd seen it on those fancy cafe menus, but never tried it. I took a bite and said, "Well, this doesn't taste like health food." She laughed and replied, "That's the point, Grandpa." What I didn't realize then was that avocados are full of healthy fats, specifically monounsaturated fats that help reduce inflammation. When your joints are inflamed, you feel it in every step, every stretch, every twist of the wrist. But when your body gets the right kind of fats, those joints start to move with less resistance. It's like giving your knees a soft cushion from the inside out. Avocados also pack a punch of vitamin E, which is known to help protect joint tissue from damage, and they contain potassium and magnesium, both of which play a role in muscle function and reducing cramping. That's a lot of goodness packed into one little green fruit. I've made avocado part of my regular routine now. Sometimes I mash it with a boiled egg. Other times I blend it into a smoothie with spinach and banana. And yes, there are still days I simply slice one in half, add a little pepper, and eat it with a spoon right out of the skin. It feels like a treat, but one I know my body appreciates. There's a gentleman at my local community center who's 81 and still plays pickleball 3 times a week. I asked him once if he takes any joint supplements. He said, "Nope. I eat half an avocado every day, and I don't mess with anything that comes in a bottle." He smiled, lifted his paddle, and jogged back onto the court. Avocado may not be some magical fix, but it's one more gentle, natural way to support your body as it ages. It's satisfying, easy to digest, and plays well with just about any meal. And honestly, there's something comforting about it. A food that's soft, creamy, nourishing, and strong all at once. So if you're looking for something that's both comforting and healing, grab an avocado. Not because it's trendy, but because your joints deserve the softness, your body deserves the support, and you deserve to enjoy every bite of your health journey. And now that we've shared these 5 foods together, each one with its own quiet kind of power, let's take a final moment to reflect on what this really means. Not just eating for health, but eating with purpose, with care, and with a little bit of hope. Because by the time you reach this stage of life, you realize that health isn't something you chase. It's something you tend to, quietly, every day. You don't need grand gestures. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. What you need, what we all need, is a few steady choices, repeated with care. A spoonful of turmeric in warm water, a salmon fillet once or twice a week, a sprinkle of chia seeds on your morning oats, a slice of tofu in your stir-fry, half an avocado with your lunch. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to say, I'm still here. I still matter. My body is still worth caring for. When you're young, eating is about energy and appetite. But at this age, eating becomes something deeper. It's about movement. It's about sleep. It's about whether your hands can still hold your coffee cup without pain, whether you can rise from a chair without bracing yourself, whether you can walk through the park without stopping to rest every few minutes. And those things aren't luxuries. They're freedom. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. Your joints are listening. Every bite you take, every ingredient you choose, is either helping them or hurting them. And the beautiful part is, you still get to decide. You still get to change. You still get to support the body that's carried you all this way. Start with one food. Pick the one that spoke to you the most. Add it to your next meal. And then, see how you feel a week later. A month. Because healing doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it whispers in the morning when you stand up without pain, or in the evening when you lie down without needing a hot compress. That's progress, and that's worth everything. If this video gave you something useful, an idea, a little hope, or just a moment of reflection, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Maybe tell us which food you're going to try first. You never know. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to take their first step too. And if you want more gentle, honest, practical health advice like this, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We're building something here, not a place for perfect people, but a place for people who still believe in taking care of themselves. Because getting older doesn't mean giving up. It means living wiser. It means knowing your body better. And it means choosing to walk into each day with a little more grace, a little less pain, and a whole lot more intention. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. I'll see you again soon.